I've had a few requests for this and I have just set this up for myself. So let's replace Google Apps with Nextcloud. Little caveat, you can replace all of these apps with Nextcloud. It's not going to be the incredibly fast, slick version of all of them, but it will just work. I will have the full guide and code and everything and steps on the Patreon and the widescreen edit on the Red app. Links in description. And what you're going to need if you want to follow on, you'll use Unraid. You can use TrueNAS for this. I use Unraid. It's always better. I'm going to use Pangolin to create a tunnel. You can use Cloudflare Tunnels, but you're not going to be able to set up some of the features like the Google Meet replacement if you're using Cloudflare. You will need some sort of web server. So all of the applications can live on your home servers, but you do need a web accessible server. I'm using the same server that I've got Pangolin running on because you will have to open up some ports. Now, if you have a dedicated IP address locally and you can do some port forwarding, you don't need this at all. You can just run it all straight from your home lab. Not everyone has that. So I've put Pangolin on a web server and I'm using the firewalls there. And something like Purely Mail. If you want to replace Google Mail, but also send notifications and all that sort of thing, something like Purely Mail, which is $10 a year, is the best option. Let's get into it. The very first thing we want to do when we get into our Unraid is we're going to go into settings, going to go into Docker, going to disable Docker for a moment, and I want to enable the host access to custom networks, and I want to enable the preserve user-defined networks. Then I will enable Docker. Because the install will create lots of different containers, this will create its own little subnetwork to allow everything to talk to each other while still talking to the rest of the network apps. Next one, go into shares and I want to create a share and I'm going to call this Nextcloud. Add share, done. Okay, now I'm going to apps. And I'm going to look for Nextcloud all-in-one master container. Click install. Not going to touch everything. I've created that Nextcloud data directory and I'm just going to hit apply. Once it's finished, I'm going to go to the Docker. I forgot to point something out to you and hopefully it's here. Yeah, the Nextcloud Apache port, this right here, which is 11,000. That Apache app helps manage where everything is. And that port, the 11,000, is what we'll use to set up our domain name to access. So I'm going to go into Pangolin now. I'm going to go into my sites and I'm going to create a resource. I'll call this Nextcloud and the subdomain Nextcloud. The target is the project server or your server, the IP address, and then the 11,000 port. Hit create resource. And I need to just turn off the access so it will allow direct access. At this point, you need to, if you have firewalls on your server, you're going to have to update the server firewalls. The ports you need to open on the firewall are 11,000 as a TCP. This is the domain master, the DNS. This is going to do all of the routing. So your main domain will come into this 11,000 and then the Apache app will route all of the different containers correctly internally. TCP 3478, UDP 3478, TCP 5349 and UDP 59160 to 49200. All of those are going to be managing your turn servers, the Google Meet replacement. You need to have these open, otherwise people will not be able to connect or talk and video won't come in or out. So those are the ports that you need to open to allow this to work. If we go back into our Unraid, click on the web UI, it will say not private. That's what we want. We want to click advanced and go to the IP address, then copy the passphrase that we need. I'm just going to put that in a note. We'll need it in a second. Open the all-in-one login, put that password in and hit login. Now I need to put in the domain that we just created. Click submit. It's going, checking the port. Excellent. Next step. ClamAV is a antivirus. You can install it. I've used it in another application, but I've been told it can be very resource intensive, so I'm going to leave it out for now. Collabora. This is going to give us docs and sheets and all that sort of thing. We want to keep it. You can install full text search, but now we're starting to use RAM that is not super necessary. Imaginary, if we want to have previews of all of these different files, so I would enable it. Nextcloud Talk. Only Office I'll leave. Socket Proxy I will leave because I'm not planning on doing any APIs. But if you want an API, then you would have to enable that. And then Whiteboard hits my time zone, and I'm going to download and start containers. Now, this is going to take a while, especially for me. This is only a little 4-core project server, and it is downloading like 9 different containers. So it will take a while. Go have a coffee after you set this going. So once that's done, you'll get this screen. I'm just going to refresh. We want everything to go green. This is correct that it's stopped. Nothing is stopped. So I'll go back, and hopefully now I just had to give it a few minutes to get everything set up. So now we have a password that we're given, and the username is admin. So I'm going to go open the Nextcloud. That's going through the proxy we set up in Pangolin. So I'm going to do admin, add the password, log in, cancel that. We got a little bit of setup, and then we need to do some terminal work in our web server to get the video calls running. So I'm going to go up here and into administration settings, scroll down to office. Now I don't know if it's laggy because it's a very small PC it's running, or if it is because I'm running through the proxy. So I just want to delete all of the WAPI requests. We don't need it. Now I'm going to go into my files, new, and I'm going to do a new spreadsheet. Call this testing. I just want to see if everything works. Yeah, it takes a while for me. On my other server, no issues. But we have spreadsheets, and if I hit quick save, close, testing spreadsheet is just there. So let's do the stun and turn servers. These are the servers that are going to be used to manage video calls. Now, currently, even though we've set the firewalls up, that's going to let stuff in, fine, but the server doesn't quite know what to do with it. So we need to jump into a terminal. I need to SSH into the server that Pangolin is running on. So anytime working with a server, Ubuntu, Linux, update and upgrade, sudo, although I am logged in as sudo, so I can just go apt upgrade -y. Okay, I need to install now coturn. So we're going to do apt install co-y, co-turn. Yes. So I already have it installed, of course. You will need to do that. Now I want to make sure that coturn is enabled and turned on when I start the server. Then we need to do some configuration because we've open ports in the firewall, but we need to make sure that coturn will use them. We do need to first, though, get a 32-bit key. So I'm going to do OpenSSL rand for random -hex 32. I'm going to copy this key, just place it in my notes for now. Then I want to nano forward ECT forward ETC. I always get that wrong. Turn server.config. Then we scroll all the way to the bottom. So we want to paste in this information. The listening port and the TLS listening port. This is what we set up when we opened the ports in the firewall. The secret we created just before we open this. The URL that we've set up in Pangolin. The IP address of the server. The minimum port and maximum port. Again, these are opened up. And no loopback peers, no multicast peers. Then Control O, enter, Control X, and I'll clear this. All right, now I want to restart. I want to check the control status. Then we are going to check the LUNP. I'll just clear that. And we will check the LTNP, and I will clear that. We're checking that to show that it has those ports are listening. Now I'm go back in and I want to create a call. I'm going to start a meeting, call this test. Okay, I just need to make sure that the camera is allowed. Okay, we have a call. Now I'm going to hit start call. I'm going to copy this link and I'm going to go do it on my phone. All right, and then I'm just going to join the call. Joining call. Yeah, okay. Excellent, that works. So I'll stop the call. It works, which is great. In the Patreon, I will add a few additional things that you can do if you are having trouble connecting. But most of the time, it's just going to be you haven't opened the firewall correctly, or you haven't set up that coturn server with the correct ports. I will add some things in there. Now, we have files, so we can upload all sorts of files. We can do photos. We can set up a calendar, notes, tasks. All of these features are here. Are they great? They're not amazing. They're not as clear and as clean and perfect as everything else as you'll find on Google. Do they work? Yes, they work. Can you connect to your server on mobile? Yes. Can you connect lots of people? Yes. You can create accounts. You can create groups. You can run your business out of here. Easy. How do you replace mail? Let's do our mail now. For this, you'll need an SMTP with IMAP email service, and I recommend using Purely Mail. Purely Mail is $10 a year. That's it. And it is purely mail. It has a webmail, but we're using it in Nextcloud. You can do, as many email addresses as you want, as many calendars as you want, domains. It's amazingly cost effective, and they've been around for a long time. Mail, we haven't got it in here. I need to put it in here, so I'm going to go into apps, bundles. There should be a mail, download, and enable. And while that's building, there we go. We have a mail. All right, so I'm going to do manual, call it admin, and the address is going to be for this, hello@benlabcc. So the IMAP host for purely mail is that 993 user hello password. Okay, SMTP host and password again. Hit connect. With luck, it'll just work. And of course, if I was a different user, I would be connecting different emails in here. So everyone has their own email and not all coming through the one thing. But you see, it already works. It's already pulling. So I can send and receive. I do need to go into my admin settings. I think it's in basic settings. Yeah. When you're creating a calendar invite or notifications, you do need to enable the email server so it can send mail. So I'm going to do SMTP, start from hello, benlab.cc, the SMTP, and 587, I believe. Authentication is required, my login, the password I set up, and then test your email, and you will now start getting notifications. So I think that pretty much covers it all, yeah. We've set up our video calls, we've got files, photos, we can send and receive email. In the calendar, you can create and send and receive calendar notifications so people will get them and they can add them to their calendar. Nextcloud takes a while to set up. Make sure you've got plenty of RAM and plenty of storage on your server to run it, and that you go through the steps. And yeah, you can pretty much replace everything here with one self-hosted service.